So a hat trick has happened at the MCG, a hat trick of abandonments without even the toss happening. So the England versus Australia game at the Melbourne Cricket Ground has been abandoned
And that's
due
two
to rain.
matches that have been abandoned today itself due to rain.
Yesterday, there was, day before yesterday, it was New Zealand versus Afghanistan that got abandoned. Ireland versus Afghanistan got abandoned today, the first game, which was absolutely lashing down.
And
Even
same has
here,
happened here. I mean, to be fair, there was a bit of a reprieve in the rain, but the conditions were so badly wet that there was no hope that it would happen. And then whatever little hopes were actually there, once it was 3 o'clock Indian time, it started raining again.
Yep.
That's it.
So, actually, if you have to look at it, in the T20 World Cup at this point in time, the element that has the most points along with India is rain. 4.
Correct.
4 points with India. They are the joint top point scorers with them. So, this is the situation that has happened now in Group 1 with Ireland, Afghanistan, Australia, England, and also the New Zealand-Afghanistan game getting abandoned.
I think Afghanistan will be cursing their luck more than most.
Yep.
2 matches.
2 matches abandoned, 2 points. They started off with a loss against England, so they have only 2 games remaining. Australia, England, this abandonment hurts Australia immensely.
Yeah, because their net run rate is already negative.
Minus 1.5.
And it stays the same if you get a point for an abandoned match. So no
Absolutely.
changes.
So they will now be in 4th position. Ireland are 3rd. England have moved to 2nd. New Zealand are 1st because their net run rate is plus 4.4. So what this has done is three teams, actually 4 teams are on 3 points.
Yeah.
Australia, England, New Zealand,
And Afghanistan.
and no, Ireland.
Ireland, my bad, yeah.
Ireland. Now the game between New Zealand and Sri Lanka tomorrow. Luckily, it's not happening at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It's happening at Sydney. That match now assumes even greater importance for both New Zealand and Sri Lanka.
Correct.
Because remember, if Sri Lanka win, then they go on top. And that is how this table has been impacted. All the gains that Ireland made in that win against England have gotten nullified.
And that's the thing. I mean, I think we all knew that Group 1 was always going to be the tough group when it comes to, you had such big wigs in this group. It was always going to be tough. Rain has now come in and has actually made the mathematical permutations and combinations even harder.
Yep.
So many teams. And in fact, what this does is it potentially opens up for a little bit of an upset maybe. If, 1-2 results go their way.
One upset, and that is it. One team is definitely out of contention. We all thought Australia and England, but now New Zealand and Sri Lanka are very, very much in the fray. It's divine providence if you have to look at it. How did the ODI format, how was the ODI format born? 3 days of incessant rain at the Melbourne Cricket Ground in 1971 saw Cricket Australia saying, okay, let's play an ODI of 45 overs. So the ODI format was born between Australia and England, played the first game. 51 years later, 532nd international game between Australia and England. Rain has hampered Australia more than England.
Yeah, because England still have a positive net run rate.
Yes.
And given the amount of matches that have already been called off due to rain, having a good net run rate at this point, very, very advantageous.
Very advantageous. And on top of that now, with 4 teams on 3 points, just changes the entire equation altogether.
Correct.
And so, Group 1 now, it's anybody's game.
Really?
Not just the bottom ranked teams. Australia are 4th, but Ireland are in with a chance. Sri Lanka are in with a chance. Afghanistan seem to be the only team that seem to be out of the equation at this point in time because their next 2 games are against Sri Lanka and Australia. So that is not going to be easy in any stretch of the imagination. The crunch game tomorrow, which assumes even more importance, is New Zealand versus Sri Lanka at the Sydney Cricket Ground. A win for New Zealand and they are potentially one step closer to the semi-finals.
Correct.
But if Sri Lanka win, then it is game on for the whole group because there will be only 1 point separating 5 teams. And the further games that happen, Australia versus, but Australia now, their 2 matches are against Ireland and Afghanistan.
They're tricky fixtures, if we're
Tricky
being polite.
fixtures.
They're very tricky fixtures.
But England's next 2 fixtures assume massive importance. November 3, they will play New Zealand at the Gabba. And that will be a very tricky encounter. And then their last league game is against Sri Lanka.
So I'd say England actually have the tougher run on the draw
Yes.
in terms of, but of course you have to remember Australia don't just need to win big. They don't just need to win, rather. They need to win big.
Big.
Because they'll need to correct that net run rate. They need to be doing a lot more of what they did against Sri Lanka.
Yes.
They'll need those massive wins
Yep.
so that they can actually be in with a chance.
So minus 1.5 net run rate of Australia, even if they win 2 games, they are not assured of going through to the semi-finals. England, one more loss.
And they could potentially be staring at an exit.
They could be staring at an exit either if New Zealand dumps them or Sri Lanka dumps them. Because this 3 rain breaks,
Has really absolutely thrown everything out of whack.
it has benefited Sri Lanka. Because Sri Lanka were already staring down at the barrel when they lost heavily to Australia. But with this, they have
Suddenly
been
they're
given a
in with a
lifeline.
fighting chance.
Yes, if Sri Lanka beats New Zealand, game on in this entire group with 5 teams separated by just 1 point with net run rate coming into the equation. So Group 1 is an absolute hodgepodge at this point in time. But this is apparently, 2 things I would like to say before we sign out. This is apparently the last rain delay that will happen in Melbourne. Because
least the
now
one
we are
that's
entering into
expected.
November. Before this, many analysts were saying, why on earth would you want to organize an event in October? Because in the history of Australian cricket, men's international, only 6 matches ever took place.
In October.
This is the reason.
Because you would have, this is rainy season, it's springtime in Australia.
The transition from spring to summer, when that happens, is going
Which
to...
is why most matches you remember happens in like December, January time. That's
Yeah.
peak summer for them.
November, December. I mean,
November, December,
November
yeah.
3rd week or 2nd week till about February, March. So
That's
this
your
is the
peak
reason.
season.
This is the reason why we don't play matches in Australia in October.
That often.
There is a reason for it. So unfortunately,
Hopefully now I think we're done with the rain, delays. We had
Hopefully.
no action today at all.
No action.
action at all.
yes,
Thanks to rain.
very, very frustrating. And this game could have been as exciting as several of the other games that we saw in Melbourne. India, Pakistan, but unfortunately, it's not happened. Australia are in big trouble now. Because their net run rate is the worst in the group. New Zealand, Sri Lanka. All the teams who are on 3 points will be hoping New Zealand beats Sri Lanka, because if Sri Lanka win, everybody's chances are not assured until November 6th.
Correct.
So that is about it from a very, very wet Melbourne cricket ground where we did not have a single ball bowled today. In fact, not even the coin toss.
Exactly. Both matches were abandoned. Not just without a ball being bowled, but with no toss happening.
But at least a hat-trick took place.
A
No
hat trick of rain delays.
rain abandonments.
Abandonments, yeah.
Not a toss bowled. 4 already in this T20 World Cup, which is the most ever in history. Most. So thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates on sports today. Tomorrow there is only one game, which is New Zealand, Sri Lanka. But day after tomorrow, it's another triple header. Pakistan versus Netherlands is happening. But our main focus will be on
India,
the
South Africa.
epic match at Perth that will happen at 4:30 p.m.
A match that could potentially decide who tops the group, by the way.
Yes, who tops the group and who makes it to the semi-finals. Pakistan will be praying
That South
very hard.
Africa.
Yes, and even South Africa, because if they lose, Zimbabwe are snapping at the heels.
Exactly.
So that also is turning out to be a pretty tough group in the sense, thanks to Zimbabwe. So subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest
Like,
news.
share,
and
subscribe, comment,
Yep, thank you. Bye bye. Vanakkam.
and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.